Defense.
Suspended. What the prosecution didn't tell you is that their undercover police officer was suspended. My name is Felix Zhou, and I'm here today with my co-counsel Julie Dumas, representing Mr. Jordan Arnold in this case. The prosecution will be unable to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Arnold intended to attack Nick Schmidt with a deadly weapon and inflict serious injuries onto Nick Schmidt. In fact, you will see that the prosecution has provided no evidence to suggest that Mr. Arnold is actually the person who assaulted Nick Schmidt. At the end of this trial, you will learn that not only Mr. Arnold is not in a gang, but not only Mr. Arnold was not in a gang, but he acted in self-defense. On the night of February 28th, Officer Manchego and Ricky Dander picked up Mr. Arnold from work and drove to the pizza place. Remember, there are 3 actors in this show: Officer Manchego, Ricky Danders, and Mr. Arnold. Mr. Arnold, he works at a local Amazon warehouse. After work every night, every week, 3 times every week for the past 2 years, he would tell you that he comes to his uncle's pizza shop for pizza. Officer Manchego is an undercover police officer. You're going to hear that Officer Manchego is discredited. You're going to hear that Officer Manchego is suspended, and you are going to learn why.
Objection, Your Honor. These motions of the suspension were precluded, or you said you were going to reserve your holding, Your Honor.
I did. Let's finish with the opening and we'll address it after. Go ahead, Mr. Zhou.
You are going to hear that Mr. Ricky Dander, he is a 5-year veteran on the slicers. And 9 days ago, Mr. Arnold has testified against Ricky in a grand jury investigation for his gang involvement. On the night of February 28th, along with 3 more people, they walked into the pizza shop: Officer Manchego, Ricky Dander, and Mr. Arnold. The pizza shop was Peeler territory, and a few Peelers were hanging around the joint. A fight broke out almost immediately over who should get the last piece of pizza. Officer Manchego took out a knife and launched himself at the Peelers. Ricky Dander followed him. Not aware that he is in a gang fight, Mr. Arnold caught the attention of Nick Schmidt. Nick Schmidt, a member of the local Peelers gang, picked out Mr. Arnold and pulled out his knife and came forward, tried to attack Mr. Arnold. Facing an aggressive, aggravated, agitated gang member, Mr. Arnold has no chance. Mr. Arnold has no choice but to defend himself with the only tool that is available to him: a box cutter. Now, even though Mr. Arnold has a constitutional right not to testify, he insisted on coming in and telling you what happened that night. Number 1, Mr. Arnold, he is not in a gang. And number 2, you are going to learn that Mr. Arnold acted in self-defense. On the first point, Mr. Arnold is not in a gang. You're going to hear that Mr. Arnold went into the shop only looking for a slice of pizza, like what he did 3 times every week for the past 2 years. And you will learn that this knife the prosecutor just referred to you is not a gang-certified knife for cutting. It is an Amazon-certified box cutter for boxes. You will learn that on the second point, Mr. Arnold acted in self-defense. You are going to hear testimony that Nick Schmidt, He is a member of the local gang Pillars, and you're going to learn that this pizza shop is Pillars territory. And you're going to learn that you're going to learn from Mr. Arnold that Nick took out his knife and came at Mr. Arnold to protect the Pillars turf. At the end of this trial, my co-counsel, Julie Dumas, will come up and ask you to deliver the only verdict that is fitting, and that is not guilty. Thank you.